Slimehouse TV, myself, Theo Kane, back again at HorrorConUK after a couple of years out, and I'm very pleased to say I'm joined by Julian Sands. How are you doing it? I know you spend a bit of time in England. You're originally from England, but you live out in America mostly. What's it like being back in England for a little while?
Well, actually, I probably spend more time in England, or as much time in England as I do in America, partly because I love being in England, but because I work quite a lot in Europe the last 2 or 3 years. And so England is more of a hub than Los Angeles. But Los Angeles ain't too shabby. I'm happy there.
Well, I know you're also a big fan of Italian movies. We were talking a little bit about that yesterday. You've been lucky enough to work in Rome and in Italy on lots of movies. In particular, what do you think makes Italian directing different to other places you've worked, and how those directors approach the craft?
I think Italian directors tend to have a very strong visual sense. They also have a sense of the Baroque. It's in their blood to be larger than life. Opera is very important in Italian culture, and I think that informs the sensibility of Italian visual artists with flair and grandeur and a sense of color and design, which I enjoy and I respond to.
And when it comes to like Italian directing in particular, I've heard rumours, and you're going to know better than anyone because you've worked in there so much, that the Italian directors like to shout at their own cast, their own Italian cast and crew, but when it comes to the British people, they treat you very well.
I can only say I've only been treated well in Italy by all the directors I've worked with, and I haven't noticed what you've just described as selective abuse. I think generally that might be of something which harkened back to the 60s and 70s, maybe. But I think today people are much more respectful and appreciative of anybody who wants to collaborate. And people know that you get a better contribution by not alienating people, by shouting at them or victimizing them.
And as somebody that's worked in the industry for so long and worked with so many different directors, all the way back from like the start of your career and to somebody that's still working today doing lots of stuff, what do you think that makes a good director through and through over all those years? What is something that's always like a solid trait in a director that you appreciate as an actor?
Well, I think there are various traits which help inform a director's ability to direct, and one is having a kind of empathy for the actor and listening and conversing. I think too, you respond to a director who clearly has a strong vision, their own sense of the shape of the film, the arrangement of a scene. Or a camera position. If you believe in them as an artist, then you will follow. A director has to be, the leader, and as in all walks of life, if a leader inspires confidence by being confident in their own abilities, it's very persuasive. But the filmmaking is a director's medium. So I think of myself as an actor as paint on the palette of the director as artist, and you're there to help them fulfill their desires, their ambitions. But again, as in other walks of life, if people are communicative and open, then they will get more from the people they're working with, whether cast or crew. Now, there are some people who are visionary and they're crazy and they're demented and they're absolutely uncompromisingly singular in their vision. That tends to be, I think, more of a thing of the past, though, where you had the absolutism of directors like Ken Russell or David Lean, who were uncompromising. And they were not interested in any kind of conversation. It was their way or no way.
And what type of director do you prefer in that sense then? Do you prefer someone that gives you a bit more leeway, or do you like to be told exactly what the director wants so you know you're hitting it?
It's a very good question, because some directors have very specific requirements of what they want you to do in a scene, and they know how you want to play it, where you want to be, what the shot should be. Others want to rehearse it, see what happens, then decide where to put the camera and how to best record the scene. I'm open to both, but personally, I like it if a director says, this is the mark, this is where you put your hand, this is where you look, action, because it simplifies the process for me. But you still do your individual creative, make your individual creative contribution within the parameters the director gives you. It's like giving you a frame, and okay, that's how to work within it. There are no, and the other thing about filmmaking, which you know, Theo, is there are no rules. Yeah. Every project has its own personnel, its own artists contributing in their different ways from their different fields, and that makes it a unique experience. And so so there are no rules, and you just are open to what the specificity of the situation is.
So it's a case of it doesn't matter how you get to the finished painting. It's about having the finished painting at the end. I always say it when it comes to, like, as in art, it doesn't matter how you get there. It's about the final piece.
Well, and again, that's down to the director, because the actors come together and work. A film is prepared for so long before the actors arrive, and the process with the actors, the actual filmmaking or filming, is a relatively short period, and then you get a very long period of post-production with the editing and the music and the effects and the testing and the marketing, and the director is involved in that whole process. The actors are there just for a brief period.
Do you know when you first wanted to get into acting, what was like your steps that you took in order to get to the level where you was actually like getting roles in movies?
Well, I wanted to be an actor when I was a little boy,
really?
And in the village pantomime up in the Yorkshire Dales. And I thought, I love watching movies and I love watching theatre, and but there was no template. I didn't know anybody who was an actor and how you became an actor. But later at secondary school, I was given the prospectus for one of the London drama schools, and I applied, and I think I got the last place. And it was just an extraordinary world where everybody seemed to be so much more talented, so much more glamorous, so much more beautiful. But when I left drama school in 1979, even though I didn't feel confident, I still had the desire to be an actor. And with a group of friends, we performed in little pub theatres, theatre and education in schools, little youth club performances, anything really. We worked as film extras. And then, you start to get a bit of experience, a bit of confidence, start to mature a bit, and get an agent. Agent sends you out on auditions. And it was a process of small parts in TV things. And then I was lucky enough to be cast in a film called The Killing Fields, because the director, Roland Joffe, very specifically wanted actors who did not have previous film experience, were sort of youthful and ingenues, so they could react as authentically as possible to being in Southeast Asia for months, playing journalists in this film, which was the story of the fall of Cambodia to the Khmer Rouge. And I played a real person, John Swain, who was the Sunday Times journalist, and spent time with John as part of my preparation. And that film was a big film, and it became a sort of hallmark for international filmmaking. And I knew from the experience that although my ambition had been to be a classical actor in the RSC or the National Theatre, I auditioned for them. I wasn't invited to be part of those companies. But I felt with film, the scope of the medium, the range of experience which was possible, the significance of being on location. I thought I need to do more film to become comfortable and competent. And that's only going to happen if I stay available for film. So I sort of made a choice that the film train was the one I wanted to be on. And then through good fortune and blessing, I started, I did more films and more films and more films where I was asked to do. Room with a View became very important in building at the time, you don't think of it as a career. It's only looking back that you might describe it as a career. And guess what? 40 years later, I'm still being asked to be in films. And it never stops being thrilling, never stops exciting my curiosity, never stops stimulating my energy to embrace new people, new situations, new stories, new characters, new places. Because as an actor, I said earlier, you're a reactor. So you're reacting to all the new stimuli that come to you.
So just finally then, before we wrap this up, anyone that's wanting to get into acting now, for somebody that has been in this industry for so long and seen them come, seen them go, works on big budget, small budget, what would your advice be to someone approaching the craft of acting now?
I would say get a training of some sort. There are many, many drama courses around the country. Have some kind of foundation, and if it's what you want, have the desire, have the belief, and just accept what comes and make the most of it, and then something else will come.
Thank you. Well, you've been great. I really appreciate it. I know you don't do too many cons, so we really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
My pleasure. It's
nice
lovely
fun.
Being here.
Thank you. That's Slimehouse TV. Myself, Theo, came with Julian Sands. Thank you. Really
you're
appreciate
welcome,
it.
Theo.